tea in the pot, Minx, if you want some.
Oh, you were very good.
Yeah. What is it today?
Hello, it's Monday.
25th of May, bank holiday.
Woo!
What a difference it makes.
It does. I feel relaxed.
Well, it's not raining, and it normally rains on bank holidays, so it's going to be a bit weird.
Looking like a gorgeous day, actually.
Yeah.
Very nice. Okay, so today we're going to talk about exercise and training
There's a surprise with the dog.
with a Labrador.
Hey, Jim.
How to train best, providing the gym doesn't knock over the tripod.
He's just giving it a boop with his nose.
Yeah. Okay, so exercise and training. First, a little potted history of my training.
Well, they kind of had that in the last...
That's true, actually, yeah. But I didn't talk specifically about training and exercise. It's how the gym happened. But in brief, I've done every single type of exercise almost possible to a really mediocre level. And so I am truly jack of all trades,
Yeah.
master of none. But from a training and with weights point of view, I started from like 10 or 11 years old. I had a rock that I used to lift. So I used to do that. And then when we came back to the UK, it was martial arts and then weights. And I got bought a barbell set. I think maybe I had some dumbbells as well, the sort of skinny bar. And we have talked about this before, so I'm just recapping. And so my first couple of years of training with weights were done with free weights. And I still believe that's kind of the best way to train. Machines have their place, but it's definitely...
For those that can.
For those that can. It's free weights. And free weights, as you're aware, is barbells, dumbbells, kettlebells and things like that. It's something that is only gravity and your then force against that causes a thing to move. It's as simple as that. Where a machine can work almost against gravity. If you've got a cable, the resistance is in the line of where the cable's being pulled. Where if you're lifting a dumbbell, the resistance is only vertically. No matter what shape you move the dumbbell or kettlebell in, the line of force is only vertical.
Early for physics.
It is. And it makes it sort of the best way to train. But it isn't the best way to train for everything, and that's what we're going to talk about today, is the best way to train, the best way to exercise, and what the difference, and we've touched on this briefly, of training and exercise. In brief, exercise is something that you do to feel something now. If you open your door and go for a run, and you come back and you've done half an hour, or 5K, then that's exercise. If you're timing yourself, trying to increase your pace cadence, if you're doing some fartlek or sprint work, if you're training in the gym to get your core strength up and you're still a runner, then that's training. So training is something you do for a specific outcome. Exercise is something you do to feel something in the now.
Yeah, it's just sort of a one-off.
Yeah, and you could do that one-off again and again and again and
Yeah,
again.
even if it's regular.
And arguably, you and I exercise. We don't train. There's not a specific goal. You're not training for a specific goal.
I exercise regularly.
Yes.
You probably train. I know not currently at the moment because of stuff we'll talk about later, but generally you pick a goal and, you do that thing.
Yeah, I train. I need the focus for a specific thing. And it can be anything. And we'll talk about that as well.
My goals are normally participation.
And one of the things that a training mindset has, which is mine rather than an exercising mindset, which is Zoe's, is I struggle if there isn't a goal. If I'm not training for a thing, it's hard to train for something. You know, if there's not a specific goal. So I had a really good blast start of this year, back end of last year, which was training for a 100-kilo shoulder press.
Oh God, I hated that.
Yeah.
Made him snore something awful because his chest muscles got huge, and every time he lay down, it was like there was a pig being murdered next to me in bed.
Yeah. Actually, so that one specific thing, that's actually worth talking about, okay?
Tried to blank it out. The exhaustion was real.
So, here's the best way to train. Rule 1, you pick a specific goal.
It's the whole SMART acronym.
Is it?
Specific,
Okay.
measurable, time limited. Specific, measurable, achievable, time measurable.
Rate.
I can't remember what the R is, but you know what I mean.
Okay, we might put it in the show notes. Okay, what SMART means, and it's not.
Achievable.
Yes, well done. R. I can't remember R.
I can't remember R. T is definitely time limited.
Time limited. Anyway, the best way to train as opposed to exercise, and I think training is better than exercise personally, because
I don't.
yeah, well,
I think they're the same.
yeah, because you can choose one thing, and if you were to ask 100 people why you should start exercising or training, over 50% would say to lose weight. My goal is to lose weight or to tone up. And we love the word tone up.
Hate the word tone.
We hate the word tone. Why do we hate the word tone? Explain it.
It's not a real thing. It's non-specific and it's particularly feminized, and I don't like a lot of the way females are presented with exercise and training traditionally. Makes me stabby.
Yeah.
And a little bit bra-burning feminist.
So, here's the definition of tone. A toned muscle is one that is actually switched on. So if I flex a bicep, that's now got tone. If I relax it, now it hasn't.
It's nothing to do with what you look like, how strong you are,
Or what you can do.
or what you can do.
Yeah. What people mean by tone is being able to see the shape of the muscle under the skin.
And that's to do with body fat percentages,
Yeah.
less to do with exercise, although that obviously helps.
It's got to do with two things. It's reducing the body fat down and building the muscle up to the point where you can see the shape of the muscle under the skin. So there is no exercise, Louise Walsh, that can tone an area up. Okay, so there is not a bum toning exercise, there is not an ab toning exercise, there aren't these 7-minute 3 exercise workouts that you can do to tone up your waistline. And we've all seen the videos or the pictures of before and after where it shows untoned and toned.
It's usually women in crop tops with hula hoops or other crappy stuff.
Yeah, and the only way to see the shape of your muscle is to reduce body fat. And
you've
build
already
muscle.
got a six-pack, a perfect six-pack. I promise you, you've got it. You just can't see it because it's under a layer of fat.
Yeah.
That's of course your John Beckerton, and then everyone can see it.
Yeah, he's got no fat. 4% Beckerton. Also, exercise isn't the best way to lose weight.
No, it's not. Controversial.
Okay. So here's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the best way to train. But rule 1 is, what are you training for? And I'm going to give you 2 examples. So example number 1, I train for 100 kilo strict shoulder press. And
my goal was to not murder him while he was training for a 100 kilo shoulder press.
And what I needed to do was to take my current shoulder press of 90 kilos up 10 kilos to 100. Now that doesn't sound like much at all, does it?
Well, for overhead it's a lot.
Okay.
It's 10%.
Yeah, no,
not
it
quite.
isn't. No, it's more than 10%.
Yeah, not quite.
Yeah, exactly. And my maths champion here. And so but my 90 kilos was almost at my genetic potential. I've been training for years and I've always done shoulder press. So it's not like I was a newbie and I was just able to add 10 kilos just by showing up. I had to train specifically for it. And I think it took about 3 months for me to achieve. And in that 3 months, I had to do a training program that involved shoulder pressing 3 times a week, a bunch of support exercises that helped me get better at shoulder pressing. And then I had to eat absolutely everything and then get plenty of sleep. The eating absolutely everything is so I could gain weight, because the only way to get stronger past a certain point is to have bigger muscles. Okay?
For that you need excess calories.
For that you need excess calories. If you're a beginner and untrained, anything you do makes you stronger. Anything you do. You can get a young man's bench press up by sending him for a bike ride. Everything works. to a certain point. But then the more you do a thing, the more you have to do to get better at that thing. Once you achieve near perfection, if such a thing exists, there's more and more stuff you have to do to just make it ever so slightly incrementally better. So you can't just say to Usain Bolt, who's got, I think his best run was something at 9.6 something seconds. To get it down to 9.5, Usain, just run a little bit faster.
Yeah.
Take your squat up by 20 kilos. Do this ab exercise that's guaranteed to get you toned. None of that's going to work because he's absolutely elite, and the difference between him shaving a millisecond off is almost got more to do with atmospheric pressure and wind speed.
Are you comparing yourself to Usain Bolt?
Yes, we both have arms and legs.
True.
Okay. Now, for me to take my shoulder press to 100 kilos, I had to train 4 times a week for 3 months with the specific goal of increasing strength in the overhead press, which meant other things had to get sidelined. You can't increase your shoulder press and your deadlift at the same time if you're already
At a high level.
If you're at a high level. I'm not elite, as I mentioned earlier on, jack of all trades, but I'm strong, okay? Especially strong for a 48-year-old guy, as I was at the time. Nearly 50 now. And I had to make my muscles bigger, because the only way to make a muscle stronger is to make the muscle bigger. And the only way to make a muscle bigger is you have to eat more food, okay? And so my body weight went up from about 110 kilos to knocking on the door of 125, 130 kilos, which had the second benefit of closing up all this, because my traps and my delts and my upper back and my chest got bigger, and so did my neck. And every time I lay down, it just cut off all air supply, and I snored
Murder pig.
like a pig.
Oh my God.
Like a pig. It used to wake me up. And
You moved into the spare room because I was about to actually lose my mind.
yeah. So there's unintended consequences
Still scary.
about sort of doing anything. But the point is to make one small increase, that 10%, slightly more, to get to 100 kilos. I had to sort of do a lot of other stuff to get there.
So you did it though?
I did it, yeah, absolutely. And that's the benefit of training. You train for a specific goal, and so rule 1 is pick a goal. Rule 2 is the training must be specific to the desired outcome. Rule 3, your nutrition has to be pointed in the same direction as all that. So you can't get stronger in the shoulder press or the deadlift and be on a keto, vegan, intermittent fasting diet. Okay, you just can't. Likewise, if you wanted to lose weight and you went running 3 times a week, like Zoe is at the moment with my daughter Jocelyn, you love running, don't you?
I love running.
See? Is you can't do that, eat normally or even more, and expect to lose weight. Can you?
Yeah.
Okay. So, rule 1 is choose a goal. This is training, by the way, not exercise, but I think it works well for exercise as well. Even though you can sort of fuzz what your goals are out a little bit, they can be a little bit more diffuse. Like losing weight is, I would say, a fairly diffuse goal. Whereas hitting a weight, for example, when I was fighting, I had to sometimes, when I wasn't a heavyweight, I had to be under a certain weight. But you wanted to be just under that weight. So that was a specific weight loss sort of program. Weight loss is the easiest and the hardest thing to do. It's real easy because all you have to do is eat fewer calories than you use up. Okay, so if you use up 2,000 calories in a day and you eat 1,750 calories, you will lose weight. 100% of the time, for 100% of the people out there, you just will. Where it becomes tricky is actually you don't know how many calories you're using up each day. You don't know what your metabolic rate is, which is largely tied in with how much muscle mass you have, but not entirely. It's all to do with thyroid function and a bunch of other things. I've gone off. Wait a second.
Massive tangent.
Massive
here,
tangent.
Dave.
Okay. So yeah, you don't know exactly how many calories you're burning. That's the point I was trying to make.
And sticking to it is hard.
So you've got to experiment. So you need to know how many calories a day you use up, and you need to know how many calories a day you're taking in. And the only way to do that is you have to track your food. You have to weigh and measure and track your food. There's no other way. Just by guessing, it doesn't work. Because your body, that's the dog scratching in the background. Your body will play tricks on you. It will play mental tricks on you, but it will play physical tricks on you. So if you're dieting and you're trying to eyeball how much food you're taking in, you'll actually start to lie to yourself. You won't even know it, but you'll actually eat, you'll put a little bit more on the plate and you'll eat a little bit more of it. And so that's kind of the mental trick that your body will play on you. But also there's a real physical thing. There's two hormones that are used to regulate your appetite, and they're called leptin and ghrelin. And they've only been recently discovered. So this is all relatively, in the world of science, new stuff. I think it's only from sort of maybe the 60s and 70s that we're aware of this, maybe even a little bit later than that. And so these two hormones regulate appetite, which of course is linked with your body weight. And you want, in a nutshell, you want to keep your leptin levels high and your ghrelin levels low. And these two things are sort of diametrically opposed to each other, so they're sort of doing this sort of opposite thing, or rather inversely proportional to each other. If you're getting in enough calories and enough sleep, then your leptin levels are high. If you then starve yourself on some sort of stupid cabbage soup diet, then your leptin levels start to fall as your ghrelin levels start to rise. These two hormones, and hormones are powerful things, right? This is not just a quick little chemical for the body, real powerful hormones. They don't just drive your appetite, they also dictate what your body's going to do with those calories and how it's going to then sort of burn calories. So one of the tricks with dieting is you just eat fewer calories, but you need to sort of have a little regular refeed and to sort of do that. So Zoe's on a bit of a diet thing at the moment, aren't you?
Yeah. Dave is always trained. As I said, currently in lockdown it's a little bit different. And it kind of is with me as well. We're both trying to make sure that our kids get enough exercise and out and aboutness and all the rest of it. If you watch my knitting podcast, or if you've been a member of the gym, since about September, October last year, I developed rheumatoid arthritis, which obviously plays havoc with any sort of exercise goals that you might have. And so I had to I stopped exercising for about
6 weeks at least.
Oh, it was more than that.
Yeah.
Simply because I was in so much pain and my mobility was so poor, I couldn't pick anything up. Basically, I struggled to get myself dressed some days. Dave had to help with all of that. So I sort of had to take a complete step back and reassess what I could do once I got my medication. So at the moment I'm on a ton of rheumatoid arthritis medication and steroids, which help with the symptoms. So I am now at a point, not the good steroids. I asked the consultant, I was like, is my deadlift going to go up? And he was like, no, wrong set of steroids.
Sad steroids.
Gutted. So that sort of set a background of limit on what I could do physically. And then once I got back to the point where I could start training, I managed about 2 or 3 weeks and then shutdown happened.
Yeah.
So there was a couple of really big issues that I had to deal with what I was doing. My goals have always generally been exercise related. I think for a lot of women, it's exercise is tied up with body image and self-worth and a lot of stuff I won't bore you with at the moment. And I've had a history of other sorts of arthritis related to having 3 kids. I've had 3 kids, plus I'm over 40 now, plus rheumatoid arthritis, plus shutdown issues. So at the moment, my goals, and they're just as every bit as worthy as Dave's, is regular exercise. So I was originally going to try and train mostly for strength, I suppose, 3 times a week. And I was getting into a good routine with that. Obviously my weights had to come right back down while I was working out what I could physically manage, and just because I'd had a couple of months off any sort of exercise. And then Joss, our daughter, decided she wanted to start running, which is great. She hasn't had an exercise or a sport that she's found that she particularly enjoys, and she's tried lots of different things. But starting to run is hard. So she started with Couch to 5K, and I thought, right, come on, I'll do it with her. So now, where I was concentrating on strength training, I'm now running 3 times a week, which isn't compatible with strength training for various reasons. So at the moment, my goals are participation. I must run 3 times a week with Jocelyn, and I must do some weights twice a week. And over the years, I have learned, and it's not been easy, to separate the physical activity I do and any body image weight loss goals that I might have. Because if you've ever been on a cross trainer or a bike and you go like the clappers for 20 minutes and you've maybe burnt off a yogurt in terms of calories, and you're like, Christ, it is incredibly difficult to lose weight just through exercise, because you really don't burn as many calories as you think.
It's almost impossible.
And if you link weight loss goals and training calorie burn, it's miserable. And the minute you eat a piece of cake that's 300 calories, you think, well, Christ, I haven't got 4 hours to spend on a cross trainer, so what's the point? I just won't train. I'm never going to burn that piece of cake off. And no, you won't. And yes, you should train anyway. So I have, like I said, it's not been easy. I have learned to completely divorce training and weight loss goals, which is what I'm trying to aim for at the moment. I'm trying to get some fat off me so that it's easier for my arthritic joints. I have an actual medical reason, and yes, I would like to look better as well, but I've just got to get some fat off for health reasons. So I've tried to separate exercise and weight loss, fat loss, for that reason, because if you link them, the minute you have a bit of a slip on what you eat, planned or otherwise, or you have to miss a workout because you're sick or you run out of time or you sprain your ankle, the whole thing goes to shit.
Yeah.
So my exercise goals are participation. I must run 3 times a week, train twice a week with weights. And within that, I can pretty much do what I want. We're following a program for Couch to 5K. For weights, I enjoy weight training. I stick with the big compound lifts and then some accessories around. And I kind of make that up as I go, and that's fine.
You've got
and
like
then I've got the separate goal for weight loss,
Right.
and that is controlling what I put in my face. Losing body fat is 85 to 90% what you put in your face. And if I have, at the moment, I have a bit more time. And if I have extra time to spend on my overall health goals, I'm far better off putting that extra time into the diet and food prep side of things than I am into an extra run or a harder training session or anything like that. So I save my emotional energy and my actual time for concentrating on the diet bit, and my exercise is just something I do. Just do it. It can be crap, it can be brilliant, it can be new, it can be the same thing I did last time. Don't really care. I need physical tick over for my exercise, and I need care and attention on my weight loss thing. So that's our difference. He's, well, again, at the moment it's a bit different, but he tends to pick shoulder press or, you know, whatever it is. He has a specific physical goal that he trains and eats to achieve. I have a participation goal for my exercise, and my specific goal is weight loss, which I address through nutrition. And neither one is better than the other. They are both perfectly suited to our temperaments and to our goals of what we're trying to achieve. And I find for women, and especially with Joss, she's 14, it's a difficult age in terms of liking yourself physically and emotionally and mentally. I've just tipped over 40, I've had 3 kids, I've had a lot of my physical choices taken away from me recently because of my arthritis. So I find that it is very beneficial for women to focus on what they can do and not what they look like. That isn't to say that you shouldn't have an interest in what you look like, we all do, but if you are 2 stone overweight and you can deadlift 80 kilos, or you're 2 stone overweight and you can't get 20 kilos off the floor, which scenario are you going to feel better about? So when I've had to sort of modify my training now to involve what Joss wants to do, that's something that's very much in my mind. So yeah, that's also something to think about. Separating exercise and body weight, separating body image and body capability. And it applies for men as well.
It really does. There are advantages to an exerciser rather than a trainer, especially if circumstances change. I've been floundering since lockdown from a training point of view because I can't do what I want to do. So I actually think at the moment, when the shit hits the fan for whatever reason, it can be a pandemic like we're in now, or it can just be you've got a new job, you've had a new kid,
moving house, whatever.
I think falling back to an exercise methodology
participation goal
is actually better.
Yeah.
Because show up, rule 1 is show up. Rule 2 is do something. Rule 3 is repeat often.
Do it again.
And if you can just do those, you will make progress. Will it be as fast as a training method? No, it won't. Okay. But I think a general approach to exercise is 9 times out of 10 almost the best thing to do. If you are a trainer like me and you want to train in a specific way, you've got to remember that you've got to pick one goal, not 12. You have to make sure that the training is specific to what it is you're trying to achieve. And you have to make sure that the diet is pointing in the right direction. So in really broad terms, if you want to get stronger or build muscle, you have to train with heavy weights, you need to get plenty of rest, and you need to eat a lot of calories. And that way, with training, the training and the diet are actually linked together. But most people don't want to do that. If you want to just be healthy, general health, I think there's a couple of things that should be in your toolbox. So if we talk about exercise first of all, if you're a general person and you want to generally improve yourself across all the different modalities, okay, of fitness and strength and mobility, I think your program needs to have more things in its sort of itinerary. So there has to be strength training. You have to do some form of resistance training.
Super important for women as well, osteoporosis and all the rest of it.
So important. The second you hit about 30 years old, you will lose about a pound of muscle a year unless you train and do something about it. And that muscle is critical to your health and well-being. The more muscle you have, and I'm talking about being just an enormous sort of muscle beast, but the more muscle you have, the higher your metabolism is. So the more energy you burn at rest. The amount of muscle you have and your metabolism, it's basically the same thing. Hormones notwithstanding.
So you've got to have some strength.
You've got to have some strength. The best way to generally strength train, okay, is to focus on the compound lifts. So you need to do a squat, a bend, let's call it a deadlift, okay, a push and a pull. So you need to do those 4 things. And then how you do that throughout the week is up to you. I would recommend for most people to train between 1 and 3 times a week with strength. And you can do it all in one session as long as you hit the squat, the bend, the push and the pull, okay? You can vary those exercises up. So what type of squat you're doing. It can be a front squat, a kettlebell squat.
Body weight squat if you're a beginner.
To a point, a body weight squat, okay? The bend can be a deadlift, which would be my go-to one. I'd recommend that. But it could also be a kettlebell swing.
Yeah.
Your push could be the humble press up, a bench press or a shoulder press, done with either kettlebells, dumbbells or barbells. And the pull would be a chin up if you can do them, or some form of row exercise, or even on a TRX doing something like an inverse row.
So you can mix and match what those movement means for you in terms of specific exercises. Ours look different.
Yes,
and that's
of course.
fine.
Yeah.
So you need some strength training in there.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be super heavy.
Once a week's fine.
3 reps, 1 rep max, nothing like that. It can be sets of 10. You know, you need to be moving some weight
Yeah.
in those movement patterns. You also need to get fitness in there.
Yes.
Now for me at the moment I'm doing this running, but it can be as simple as some HIIT training at the end of your strength workout. 5 minutes, slaughter yourself, done.
Cardiovascular training is your heart and lungs, and anything that elevates your heart rate and your breathing rate is cardiovascular work.
So you can do it with weights. You can strip the weights right back down low and do cardio with weights. If you hate treadmills, if you hate running outside, if you don't like exercise classes, are you hot, sweating, out of breath? Congratulations,
Job done.
You're doing cardio.
Walking's great.
Walking's great.
Yeah, walking's great. Like walking, going for an amble around the park is movement, but walking where you sort of swing your arms and you've got a bit of a pace to you, and maybe there's a hill involved, or maybe there's makes me laugh. One of the big trends at the moment is rucking, and rucking is where you put weight.
Rugby.
No, a weight in a rucksack and then go walking. And I was like, I'm sure I used to do that in the Marines 400 years ago.
Would it count if you put a flask of tea and a sandwich in your rucksack?
Yes, it absolutely will. But the point being is that walking is actually fantastic exercise if you do it fast enough. And if you find you can walk really fast with this, an arm swing like an army person marching, and it's still easy, add some weight in a rucksack.
Or find a hill.
Find a hill, okay? Walking's always hard.
So that's your fitness, that's your cardio. It doesn't have to be complicated.
It doesn't have to be hard.
And then there's mobility, flexibility.
Yeah. So, and muscular endurance. I think as a general overview, for most people just wanting to be better versions of themselves, 2 strength training sessions a week. We had 4 movements, so you do 2 on one day and do 2 on the other day. So day 1 would be squat and push. Day 2 would be bend, deadlift and pull. Okay. I like sets of 5. Do 5 reps. It's a nice halfway house between absolute strength training and muscular endurance, getting sort of your reps in. And with weight training, strength training, it's important at some point to add some weight to the bar. You don't have to do every workout, but ultimately you're not doing strength training unless the weight goes up a bit eventually. So when you're able to get your 3 or 5 sets of 5 reps out, and it's okay, it's manageable, put a bit of weight on, add a smidge more, okay? From a fitness point of view, I think you need to do 2 to 4 fitness things a week, okay? And these can be done in the same day, so you can do the strength and the fitness work on the same day as part of the same workout, or you can run it on different days. So I think fitness work needs to be done almost every other day, or you can go 2 days on, 1 day off, 2 days on.
That tends to be what I do.
Okay, and fitness training is, remember, anything that takes your heart rate up and holds it there for more than 3 minutes. Okay, it can be simple as that. I really like kettlebells to get my heart rate up. I love walking. When it's a bit warmer, I like to go swimming in the sea. And I think my favorite, well, I think your and my favorite is pad work.
Yeah.
So doing some boxing or some Muay Thai and just hitting the pads.
But it can be an aerobics class.
It can be an aerobics class. It can be put on some music and just dance. Like,
look at the Fitness Marshal on YouTube if you like dancing.
Which one's that one?
He is the gayest man I've ever met in my life. And he has backing dancers and crazy backgrounds. And he does a dance routine to a pop song. He's not a singer, he's not a pop star. He just chooses a track and does a silly
is he the one
routine
that's
to it.
Not Today, Satan?
Not Today, Satan, yeah. So if you want to kitchen dance, look up the Fitness Marshal.
Absolutely. So it's anything that gets your heart rate up and holds it there for more than a couple of minutes. Now that more than a couple of minutes could be 3 hours. I've got a good friend at the gym, Matt. He's a high-level cyclist, and he will just go out for anywhere between 2 and 10 hours on a bike. But he's also insane.
A little bit.
Okay. So what you do doesn't matter. Point is, show up, do something, and repeat often. 2 strength training, between 3 and 4 fitness things a week, and then you want to throw in some mobility there as well. Now, personally, I think the best place to throw that in is in your warm up.
Yeah.
So Zoe's got a little routine that she does. I've got a little routine that I do.
There's some stuff that all people should address.
Yes.
General flexibility, lower back strength, and making sure you can get your shoulders back properly.
Yeah.
And then you can add or subtract things that are specific to you. So I've got some clients that really need to work on their backs. Other people have got particularly weak glutes, so we'll throw different stuff in there.
Yeah.
So there's a subset of stuff that everyone should do, and then you add in the extras.
These are generally body weight or band exercises. Pick 3 of them. Do between 10 and 30 reps. Do them as a circuit.
There's your warm up.
There's
Head into
your
your
warm-up.
strength training, hip training at the end.
Exactly.
Job done.
Yeah. The other thing I'd say is muscular endurance, which is best done after your strength training, which is sometimes called volume training.
Yeah.
And this is where you'd pick a similar exercise to your strength exercise, and you'd do it for more repetitions. So, for example, I might do squats.
Barbell back squats.
Barbell back squat for 3 sets of 5 with a decent heavy weight. And then I might do lunges for 4 sets of 10 off each side for my muscular endurance. It's still legs and hamstrings and thighs and glutes that are doing the work, but they're very different exercises.
They're actually different cells that are activated by them.
Yeah, that absolutely is. You've got sort of 3 different energy systems, and you want to make sure that you kind of hit all of them in a week, unless you are training specifically for a specific sport, in which case you have to train specifically.
And you can get very overwhelmed. Dave has a frightening amount of information, and you can think, oh, that's just, decision paralysis. Don't worry about that. He's just a nerd about the science of it. Strength training twice a week.
Yeah.
Fitness training 2 to 3 times a week. Bit of mobility. You can mush those things together. You can spread them out.
Yeah.
You can pick versions that suit you, but you've got to do them. And if that means if you hate a particular sort of exercise, don't do it. Choose something else. So you have to be able to do it regularly, and your enjoyment of that will mean you will do it regularly.
Remember, your workout should be based around the 4 main movements of squat, hinge or bend, push and pull. So my favourite squat movements would be the barbell back squat, the goblet squat, front squats. Can you give me any other examples?
Lunges and step ups are nice.
Yeah, so that takes care of your squat movement. Bend movements, for me it's deadlift and kettlebell swings.
Yeah, glute bridges, absolute cracker.
Yeah, Romanian deadlifts, either single leg, which are really challenging.
Single leg are really good.
Or regular
Also
Romanian
moves into
deadlifts.
mobility for that.
100% does. A lot of these exercises do. If you're doing a properly performed shoulder press, pull up, deadlift or back squat, you're actually working your mobility at the same time, because you're taking your joints through a full range of motion.
In terms of push, classic is bench. The opposite of that is a press up.
Yeah.
Shoulder press, lat pull down, they're the opposite motions.
How's press up and bench press opposite each other? They're the same exercise.
Well, yeah, but you're just the other way up.
Right.
People don't make that connection.
Yes,
like, if you
I
think about
understand.
doing a bench press but facing the floor, what are you doing? And they're like,
No, it's true. Bench press and press ups are basically the same exercise. You can go heavier in a bench because the bench supports you and you can load the weight. I love press ups. I think they're a great exercise because essentially it's a moving plank. Shoulder pressing, I love shoulder pressing.
Yeah, shoulder press, and the opposite is lat pull down.
Yeah, lat pull down or chin ups.
Yeah.
Opposite of bench press would be any form of horizontal row exercise.
Yeah.
So a bent over row, dumbbell row, kettlebell row. So they're the things I think you should. I think you should do your strength training with free weights, and you can do it exclusively with kettlebells, which I've done. Normally, at least once a year, I'll have a month to 2 months where I just train with kettlebells. I think they're a great resetter as an exercise. I think they're great for injury prevention as well. If you want to get strong, you have to train with a barbell.
Yeah.
If you want to do more bodybuilding stuff, that's when you can sort of bring in dumbbells and more machine stuff.
So you need to decide what you want to do, and then you need to adapt your training for that, or your exercise. And either one is fine.
Either one's fine.
Either one is fine.
Yeah. And you've really got to make sure that your diet is supportive of your training goals. And that's, I think, the most important thing. We talked earlier on. You can't out-train a bad diet.
No.
You can't out-train a bad diet. If you're doing these 2 to 5 workouts a week and you're eating like a pig, there's not going to be any difference to your body weight at all.
And that's fine if that's not what your goal is.
Exactly. If you want to gain weight, you have to eat more calories. If you want to lose weight, you have to eat fewer calories. And that is carved in stone, 100% true. So if your goal is to lose weight, sort your diet out first and then train to fill the gaps. Train because it's actually good
Train
for
because
you.
it's good for you and you enjoy it, and you should do it regardless of what the scales say.
Yeah, and it will help maintain muscle mass as well, which in turn helps boost your metabolism. But it's all about the diet
It is,
when it comes to
unfortunately.
using that. We'll have a proper talk about diet at some point. We've done
A
nutrition,
bit, but not
we've
too
done
much.
nutrition for idiots,
Yeah.
but we haven't got into sort of the nuts and bolts of it.
I think we're all going to have to wrap it up there. We've been
Yeah.
rambling for 40 minutes.
Yes. Anyway, how to train, either specifically or generally, depends on your goals. And if you're a trainer like I am, and anything throws a spanner into the works and you can't do your specific training, maybe become a bit more like Zoe and just show up, do something and repeat
Then you
often.
can tick it, and I've done it.
Yeah. Anything else to say?
No, I think that's it.
Okay. Thank you very much. Love you all.
See you soon.
See you soon. Hit the button.